Hey you, I'm Anissa. Welcome to Create to Liberate. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the importance of actually finding creative autonomy during this time when the TikTok ban just happened and it's impacting so many creators and business owners. So if you're watching on YouTube, definitely hit the like button, subscribe to this channel for regular uploads, and if you're listening on audio, a review is welcome. I share reflections, wisdom, things from my personal experience, as I believe we are all each other's mirrors. We provide a mirror to each other to be able to see ourselves more clearly. And so, if any of my reflections resonate with you, amazing. Take what you need and leave the rest. So, first, we're going to get into what is happening. This TikTok ban is actually really deeply impacting so many US based creators and creative people, and also what some things that you can do about it during this time. And I have suggestions from my personal lived experience as a marketer at Google and working with small business owners and entrepreneurs and artists for many years, and then also myself personally, what I'm doing these days. Beginning with the state of affairs with this TikTok ban in the US, it actually went official on January 19th, 2025. TikTok is not available. And there's this notice when you click onto the app that says, we're trying to work with the future Trump administration on resolving TikTok and bringing it back to the United States. And for those who've kept up with the news on the TikTok ban, I applaud you. I personally felt of the camp that I'm going to stay broadly informed and then dive into some specific details where it seems most relevant to me. And as it became clearer and clearer, the level of self-interest of the Supreme Court, many folks in the Supreme Court having invested in Meta stock very recently, additional things that are also ultimately related to war and profit and things that don't really matter to the well-being of people in the United States or their livelihoods and being able to meet that. And to me, it was actually deeply heartbreaking. I've been on TikTok as a creator for 5 years. I started when it was Musically and it converted into TikTok. And so I got to witness a lot of this early day of creativity and real self-expression and the playfulness and the liberation that it honestly provided to so many people in the United States, particularly during the pandemic when so many folks were stuck at home and they didn't have any other options. There wasn't the option to run outside and socialize. And so it became such a special community of people that I have so much gratitude to have interacted with in person and online. I started creating content on TikTok really focused on mindfulness and meditation and how could I normalize that during the pandemic, during a time at which there were such mental health challenges and us being indoors, which is just not the way that humans should exist. We really should be interacting with each other, having deep, meaningful conversations, deepening our intimacy, spending time in nature, all of these things that make life rich that I highly advocate for today. But that's because the doors are open. But as the app continued to evolve post-pandemic, I did notice that, integration of TikTok Shop became a huge emphasis and big businesses were really focused on how can I make the most money on this platform. The direction of the app started to really move towards monetization for these businesses over the creators themselves. TikTok was known for giving the lowest wages of kind of like that AdSense that YouTube provides. But the lowest, Instagram was so much better, significantly better as YouTube, because there's a deeper investment in the longevity of creators in the long term. There's an attachment to holding on to the valuable creators, particularly. And on TikTok, that really wasn't the case. Whether you had millions of followers or you just had very few, a lot of the financial benefits really came from band partnerships and sponsorships and going to events. And yes, some people made a lot of money from TikTok Shop as business owners or those nonstop heavy duty seller marketers. And I applaud you, but most people were making, who were in that mid range, were making money from brand deals and had a sizable amount of following. But here's the catch with TikTok. A lot of folks weren't there for deep attention. They're really not going to be there for your full journey. And so you see platforms like Patreon being deeply valuable because it's a membership-based page that allows you a deeper level of sinking into and paying directly the creators that you enjoy. And there's going to be so much more importance for things like that going forward. So that's one I'll mention pretty early. And then I wanted to get into other suggestions to get even further away from feeling like your creative expression is dependent on a TikTok, for instance, in the future. I will honestly say that the platform that I initially fell in love with definitely changed from the platform that I was using in 2024 and 2025 in these last few weeks, there was still the essence of people being really open and deeply advocating for the things that they loved and cared about that were quite niche and quite unique. The way that people were able to form affinity groups and community and support around these very niche subjects, the way that so many topics that were explored that would typically be very censored or never get some reach around the occult, around eccentric, spiritual, liberated topics that actually move people away from dependency on our education system, dependency on government. They were some really radical thinkers, some really incredibly smart people who were able to convey information directly and do investigation and share that back. And it felt like the beginning of something really beautiful, the beginning of something that was from the people for the people. And that's also a threat, the US government and the direction that it's currently moving towards. So it was unfortunate for me to witness that this TikTok app ban had headlines around it being because of propaganda or censorship, when censorship's happening so much more strongly on these other social media platforms that are US based. For those who really appreciate the United States for being a place that inspires people to feel we have freedom and equal rights, etc., then how can we still try to uphold that in going forward in our own way? I started getting intuitive guidance that I needed to start prioritizing this podcast again, doing it in video form and sharing it on YouTube, sharing it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, but it's ultimately owned and maintained myself. Creative autonomy is hugely important at this time, so I'll begin there. In the days going forward, it's really important to set yourself up if you're a creative person to have more creative autonomy. That means having folks come more directly to you so that if an app disappears, as a website's down, they can access you more directly. People can support you more directly. There can be more of a from people to people exchange when it comes to whatever you're sharing online, whatever you're promoting, whatever you're inspired by. It's really important to start focusing on how can I build more of a community? How can I bring people together around the things that I love? Maybe for you, that's starting a book club, starting Zoom meetings. Deeper level of personal connection and interaction is needed at this time for sustainability, not just financially, but we actually need each other for empowerment and uplift as well. Number two, there's the option of going to things like a Patreon, places where there's a platform that supports that creators are supported and funded, maybe on a monthly basis or even on a yearly basis, an annual subscription to support the creators that you love, whether you create something or you just are a witness to something. These are really great ideas to think about integrating into your offerings. Number three, creating offerings, period. So what are you sharing that's actually of value to people and how can you monetize it? Some people go through courses, some people monetize through in-person one-on-ones, some people monetize through public speaking, some people monetize additionally through selling products. There's so many other additional verticals that you can add to yourself and think about yourself as a business in that way. You are a creative person, you are a liberated being and a human, and you also are a business. At some point, you have to begin to claim that side in reality of the artistic journey, the creative journey, especially in the United States. Last but not least, we have to call out what's happening. The inspiration for me sharing this episode is deeply because the self-interest, the level of greed in this country from a specific population of people, particularly who have the most wealth in this country. And these days, when we regard dollar bills as God, then we forget what power actually is, what is actually valuable. I heard something that was, you'll never see a $50 bill homeless in the United States, but you will obviously walk outside of my building in Los Angeles, walk down the street and see homeless people. For others who go through a level of sensitivity and awareness around the level of suffering, it's gonna start to infiltrate your life even more deeply, especially in the coming years with climate change. We just had all these fires in Los Angeles and continue to. So many people are starting to recognize that they're actually not immune to life's uncertainties and difficulties, regardless of how much money they have, to make the world that we want to see, to improve this world for the better of all, then we have to continue to be advocates for the world that we want to see. We have to still continue to call out these platforms that are clearly colluding, but continuing to be the advocates in our lives for the world that we want to see, in creating the art that is liberating to ourselves and others, creating to be expressive, creating to express the vision of the world that we want to see, speaking our reality into existence. So speak about the world that you want to see. It's not just about putting down the world that you don't want to see, though we definitely should be doing that and calling it out. It's also speaking towards the world that we do want to see, how we do want to see more equity across all creative people, more opportunities for all business owners and creative entrepreneurs in this country, and a reinvigoration, a renaissance for the folks that are actually here so that there can be a future for the younger generations, so that we're leaving behind a planet that is healthier than the one that we have begun with. Finally, I'll share something just on a personal note around creativity and my experience on TikTok. I found my voice, and I will forever be grateful for TikTok for giving me a place with a lower barrier to entry that felt accessible just because we could flip up our phones, and helped me feel empowered in my expression, connected to other people who are creative and wild and eccentric. I deeply appreciate my former No Starving Artist community, now Create to Liberate. I appreciate you for being here because life gets really difficult at times, and to have a sense of purpose that, at least if you're leaving something behind that supports one person, that it feels more worth it. Though I may never return back to TikTok, even if the app returns, I have so much gratitude for you, for supporting me, for listening, for tuning in, for continuing to honor your creativity, to just live in a world where I know people are honoring more of their whole expression of self. It means everything to me. For those who have their livelihood and their financial ends meeting because of this app and no longer have that security, I'm sending you so much love. I hope that some of this guidance supported you in moving forward. As always, continue to tune in. If you enjoy my work, please support it by liking this video, subscribing to my channel on YouTube. You can find me at Anissa Benitez on YouTube, Instagram, so on and so forth. I'm sending you so much love and appreciate you being here.